Hello, 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 and welcome to Unique Leaders Live. I'm Megan DiMartino, and it is Friday, my favorite day of the week. And not because it's the weekend, it's because of Unique Leaders Live. I can't wait for you to meet my guest, Scott Simons. He is just a treasure, and he is an amazing Renaissance man, and I cannot wait for he to share his story. He and I met in real life about a month ago, and we had the great opportunity to walk around kind of at fast pace around Central Park's jogging path. And when you're in proximity with a person, you really glean that information from them about their lives. And I said, I want you on Unique Leaders. Unique Leaders basically is about the guest to share their story with you. And they say that success leaves clues. Well, I don't like clues. I want you to have the full story. That way you can see yourself in their lives. You can go on YouTube right now and listen to other Unique Leaders' stories. And they all have compelling, very interesting, but resounding stories that will, pique your interest about yourself. If you wouldn't mind, I would so appreciate you sharing this out on all of your social media platforms. That way, your friends, your families, your working colleagues can hear Scott's story. This will also be on YouTube, so go there and subscribe, because that way people will find Unique Leaders Live. And then next Tuesday, it will be on all the podcasting platforms. So you'll be able to do your workouts, your jogging, whatever you're doing, and listen to Scott Simons' story. So without further ado, I would like you to meet my friend, Scott Simons.
Hello, Megan. How are you?
I am so good that you're here, Scott. I'm so glad that you're finally here to share your wonderful story.
Thank you for having me. I sincerely appreciate it. It was a real joy to get to meet with you and others in New York City. And we got to spend some time together, and what a treat it was for me. And of course, we're both friends of Lisa Copeland and have a lot of mutual friends. So it was a real joy to be able to spend some time around you.
And Miss Lisa, I'm sure you saw in the intro that she's in that feed there coming into Unique Leaders. So she's been a unique leader and shared her story as well. So as I shared in the intro, Scott, I really would like you to just go back to young Scott, where you were born, a little bit about, the beginnings of Scott that led you to where you are today. Just share a little bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah. I'm thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on. I sincerely appreciate it. And I admire and respect you a lot. So I saw some of these other big names that have been on there, and I'm like, wow, so the company and the influence that you have to track these people is amazing. So I'm originally from Southern West Virginia. I'm one of two. So there's a brother that's a doctor in Texas. He got the brains, and I think he got the looks too, to be honest with you. He's a doctor in Texas, and I'm in the auto industry. But anyway, we have my parents came from pretty humble beginnings. We are from the poorest county in the United States of America, McDowell County. However, we grew up, probably lower to middle class. Just didn't, we didn't know growing up. We just knew that our parents worked very hard to give my brother and I our opportunities. And my mom's Italian, and my dad they're both from Southern West Virginia. My dad's not Italian. And they came, my mom was one of 9. My dad was one of 9. So apparently in Southern West Virginia, you worked at coal mines or on farms, and you had babies. So apparently that's what they did. They were Catholic. Maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not for sure. But anyway, but I just saw how hard that they worked. I mean, my dad worked 5 jobs. My mom worked the lab supervisor, and they pushed my brother and I. I mean, they pushed us and pushed us and pushed us only because they cared.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in a very small house. My Aunt Mary helped raise us. She helped raise my mom's siblings, and then she helped raise my brother and I. She was never married, never had a checking account, never had a driver's license. Her whole life was to serve others, which is amazing.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, it's the sacrifice that lady did, and she since has passed.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a servant heart.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, of course, seeing the work ethic, my brother and I both had jobs at a very young age. We had paper routes. My dad also had us work at a community center, and he always pushed us. You got to get your education. You got to get your education. You got to get your education. He wanted us both to be accountants. So, and being around me, I'm far from an accountant, and my brother is a doctor. But anyway, when he pushed us, I started working when I was 15 at a community center. And to take you through my senior high school year, we'll kind of just sum up what our family is about. So I would get up at about 4 and go open up a community center, and I work at the front desk. And if doctors or lawyers or people that showed up to work out were mostly white collar, and if their partners didn't show up, they would say, "Hey, you come play." So I kind of got to play racquetball and get paid for it some mornings, not every morning. And I would go and get ready for school. I would go to high school from like 8:30 to 11:30. I would eat lunch at high school. Then I would go to college in the afternoon and take college courses. And I started taking college courses when I was in 10th grade.
Come on.
We'd go to college in the afternoon, come back to high school for baseball practice till about 7. And then I would go work at a fitness facility, the same one, until 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
That was my senior year. I was working about 60 hours a week, plus going to high school, plus going to college. And that's just all that we knew. I mean, that's just what our family did. My dad grew up very much with a mom with a scarcity mindset. They were scared. They retired multimillionaires, but my dad never made more than $32,000 a year in one job. That's why he had to have 5.
I just want to stop you for a second there, because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about investments and compounding, and one of the reasons I have been is, there are many reasons to it, but one is what you shared while we were walking, which is essentially what you just shared there about your dad and your mom and their savings ethic, which is extraordinary.
Yes.
Extraordinary.
Well, and pay yourself first, make sure, and people say that, well, if you own a business, what do you mean? You're just paying yourself first? No. It means make sure that you save for your future. And my dad, he had me set up an account, a savings account, and it was in my name and his name because I think I was underage. And I was like, I wonder if he's going to charge me rent or if he's going to keep some of this money. He ended up giving me the money, but I was like, he made me put $100 a week away. And I was like, Dad, but I only made $4.50. And he goes, figure it out. You live at home. Like, you don't have any bills. What are you talking about? So he was just really, he was just so scared. And I learned a lot from him. But what I did learn is I didn't want to live in that scarcity mindset.
Yes.
I didn't want to count down days till retirement. I didn't want to clip coupons. And I remember when we would go to a buffet, that would be the only meal of the day. And like to this day, I would not go to a buffet because when we went, that was the only meal you were going to have that day. And you had to eat till basically you were beyond full. So there's certain things like that I just didn't want to. It's not a fun way to live life.
Exactly.
I've got stories I could share that I've shared with people, and they're like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Like, I'll give you an example. When we moved from our house that our aunt and my mom grew up in, when we sold that house. We sold it for less than it was less than $15,000. I think it's less than $10,000 to show you the cost of the house, like just the area. And we moved into a ranch house, and I'm like, cool. Like, my brother and I would get our own rooms. People, we don't have to ask why we're living with this other lady because she wasn't my grandma, but I called her grandma. And anyway, she's Grandma Aunt Mary. And we had a garage on one side. And he said, well, we're going to go turn this into like a bedroom. I was like, oh, cool. Maybe that will be mine. Well, no, we were turning it into an apartment. And then the other end of this ranch-style house was an apartment. Well, Dad had saved up enough money and paid cash for this house, which wasn't a whole lot, but that wasn't good enough. He moved in renters on both sides. Well, we know how mean children can be, you know. Well, why are these people living in your house separated only by a door? That's kind of strange. And I'm like, well, you know, my dad, you know, he just, you know, to get rental income. And, you know, I learned a lot from them. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for some of the life lessons that they taught me. But what it's taught me was save my money and make sure that I prepare for tomorrow. And like, give you an example, my wife and I, since we first started our first jobs, we've maxed out our 401k. Well, my first job out of college, I got my undergrad, got my master's. When I started my first job out of college, I made $28,000 a year. Well, my dad said, you're maxing out your 401k. So I lived on a couch in Charlottesville for 1 year because I had to survive off water and ramen noodles because I wanted, he made me max out my 401k. Well, I'm 48. That started when I was 23. So my wife and I, ever since then, have always maxed out our 401ks. One, it saves you in taxes. Two, take advantage of compounding interest.
Right. Wow.
My first house we bought, you know, it was a smaller house. I moved in 2 renters that paid my fixed expenses. So I did learn from him.
Yes.
But I did move in those renters once I had a family. You know,
right.
So I didn't go that far. You know, well, come on in. You know, you stay down here, you stay here. But anyway, so I did learn a lot. My work ethic most definitely came from my dad. My personality came from my mom. Then they both are. My dad's 83, my mom's 78, and they've been married for 55 years.
So you've used the term mindset several times, and you know, you have a very happy heart. And so did you have to choose a positive mindset, or do you feel it's partially that nurture nature? I mean, that it was part of you, but then also your decision factor in yourself? Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think it came from my mom or my dad. I mean, I'm tough as nails when I need to be. I just prefer to be kind. If you give me a reason not to be, I guess it's the Italian in me. I can get really, I can go 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 like that. Now, I've matured. But, you know, from where we're from, a handshake means something. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that's the area I grew up in. And then that's just values my parents instilled in us. I look for the good in people until they give me a reason to see the bad. And then if I see the bad, once they show me, I may give them another chance. And then I don't make them an enemy. I just simply just move on.
Right.
I don't, you know, I live such a fortunate life. I don't have time to have hate or, when I was immature, I did. And then I started realizing, wait a minute, they're occupying space in my brain, in my mind. I've only got so much space up there. You know, why am I going to allow somebody to occupy? So I simply just move on. I don't wish any ill will, even toward people that wish ill will toward me, which, believe it or not, there are some. Because not everybody's going to like you. We're not going to be for everyone.
No.
Sometimes when they don't like us, it's actually just because they're not happy in their own life. And I don't hold any ill will toward them at all. I live such a, you know, really fortunate life that I'm just so, you know, why wouldn't I be happy? I mean, we're healthy. We've seen some success, although I've got a long way to go. So there's no reason for me to be bitter. Now, I have bad days just like everybody else.
Yes.
And there's times that I get frustrated, but most of the time my team won't know it. Now, my inner team will know if I'm frustrated, you know, if something's going on. But once I walk out there, I'm the leader. I have to be positive.
Yes. So you've mentioned your wife also a few times, but you mentioned taking college courses in senior year. So did you go to a local college near? Did you finish in where you were going in high school?
I did. I'm from Bluefield, West Virginia. I went to Bluefield High School, and I went to Bluefield State High School. I was going to go to a different school, but a lot of my credits wouldn't transfer. So all the work I would have put into this school, and it's crazy, but the school I went from is predominantly is black, and where I'm from, to even go back a little bit further, there was most definitely segregation where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
In our county, in McDowell County, half of it was basically one section of it was completely white, the other was black, and they merged two schools together, which kind of put us together for the first time. So, going through that through my life, I think, paid dividends later in life because I got to experience some things maybe some other people didn't experience my age.
Exactly.
So
Yes,
I did go to Bluefield State College, and then after I went there, I got my master's from Bradford University. My wife went to Bluefield College, and then she got her 4-year degree at Bradford. Mm-hmm. So we met when I was at that community center I was telling you about. I was working the front desk, and here comes a very attractive lady in. Mm-hmm. She was 15 at the time. I was 17, and I'll say a joke on myself. I said, well, she don't have the same last name as me, because the joke is everybody from West Virginia is kin. And I said, she's got all of her teeth. So I don't think we're kin. She's got all her teeth and she's pretty. I might want to, get her. I might want to get her phone number out of the computer, which I'm sure broke some type of laws, and give her a call. And I'll tell you a funny story. I actually got a friend of mine to call her. I didn't even call her. He called her pretending he was me.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, that's a funny story. So we've dated or married, ever since. Obviously, we broke up during high school, and you do all those immature things. But she is a saint. We're polar opposites. She's not really on social media. She's a very private person. She's a wonderful wife, wonderful mom. But we are the exact opposites. She wouldn't come on a podcast. She wouldn't, just not her.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's actually probably a good thing, because you balance each other, with your life, your essences, and you glean from each other. I saw on social media, speaking of it, that it was your daughter's birthday yesterday. So
yes.
She turned 18.
Yeah, she turned 18. So I have one daughter and one son. And, children are a gift. I'll say that they're a gift. And I don't have many regrets going through life. I try to minimize. I mean, one regret I have as I get older, which I'm not sure if other people have this regret or not, is one is I didn't serve in the military. Two is I didn't have more children. Now that's easy for me to say, right? I probably asked my wife. Our dogs and our other animals are just like children. I thought maybe adopting, maybe mentoring, which I do mentor some children in our community. I do get scholarships out to young men that go to Fishburne Military School. Our family has given over $300,000 to local military school. We've sent 80 young men from our local area to military school that either don't have a dad or parents in the picture. Just trying to give back. So, I guess toward they're about ready. My daughter's in college. My son's a freshman in high school, and looking back on it, I kind of wish I had more kids. But again,
but like you said, you're mentoring, and now in your career, you're mentoring many, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you mentioned also that you're in the auto industry, and early on when you mentioned your brother was a doctor in Texas, but you're highly successful in what you're doing. And share a little bit about that early career into that, and then with what you're doing today with Carter Myers Automotive.
Yes. So I always had a dream of owning a car dealership. It's been my dream ever since I can remember. And I think it was because our first car we had was like a celebrity, and my dad bought it for a couple $100, and he took it to the Vogue school, and they fixed it as their project. So in some areas, Vogue schools are looking for cars to fix projects. They're not typically owned by people. So we owned it, had them fix it for free because it was wrecked, and then we drove it. And I remember seeing a guy, I think it was a gentleman, that was driving like a brand new car, had nice looking clothes, and I'm like, what's he do? He sells cars. He gets to drive a new car. Yeah. Then they think they make good money too. So that's interesting, because I was thinking, what career could I get into where you can make unlimited income? where I could dictate what I make based
Mm-hmm.
on my abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have real estate, you have automobile sales. I love cars. I'm a car nut. I love the excitement of seeing people purchase cars, because it is exciting. Second to a home, it's your second major purchase. So, a funny story about the accounting. So my dad had an accounting friend that did well. So my dad said, I want you and your brother to be accountants. My brother started. And first 2 years of college, you're just doing basic studies. The third year, when you go into that accounting, it gets real. That's when the real hard work starts.
Mm-hmm.
My brother got in it, and my dad was very forceful. So my brother finished. He finished a 4-year degree in three years with a 3.8 GPA.
Wow.
But he hated it. He hated it. He hated everything about it. And I know hate's a strong word, but he was not happy. He was literally studying and crying. He just despised, he just didn't like it. So he finished, though, because he didn't want to let my dad down.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to my brother's graduation, and my dad says, are you ready to go sit for a CPA exam? My brother goes, no, I'm going to go to medical school.
Oh, wow.
Well, you thought my brother had done shot him in the face or chest. My dad was like, you're going to do what? What? You graduated in accounting. Wait a minute. What do you mean you're not going to go? And I'm sitting there like, uh-oh. How's this going to turn out? I started thinking, if he gets away with this, I'm going to tell him I don't want to either. Not right now, because I didn't want to be an accountant. So my brother took a year, got his prerequisites, and then went to medical school. So he's an accounting undergrad and medical doctor.
Wow.
Great
Wow.
guy.
Wow.
So after my first 2 years of completion, which only took me 2.5 years to finish a 4-year degree, I said, Dad, I don't want to be an accountant. I'm not an accountant at all. So I told him after I graduated with my master's degree, I would get in the auto industry. Megan, you should have seen his face.
I bet. Oh my God.
You're going to do what? I said, I'm going to go sell cars. He said, why? And I said, well, because that's what I want to do, Dad. I want to own a car dealership one day. Well, why did you go to school? You could have went years ago. Why go wait? I said, Dad, nobody can ever take it away from me. I proved I could do it. And so I took that job making $28,000 a year when a lot of people were making substantially more, learned how to read credit bureaus, took my first job selling cars, worked my way into finance at the first dealership, which in the auto industry, you go through the progression.
Mm-hmm.
You either have variable operations, which is sales, or fixed operations, which is parts and service. Most people's career trajectory goes through the sales end, not necessarily fixed ops, although there are some fixed ops people that are general managers. So you start off selling cars, then you go into finance, sales management, general sales management, general manager, managing partner, dealer principal, which is our CEO, Liza Borges, is where I'm with, for the last 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off selling cars, was successful, went into finance, from finance, I went to finance director, skipped the steps and went to general manager. So my first general manager position, non-ownership, was about 60. I was early 30s, which is pretty, back then it was pretty unheard of. There's people that are definitely late 20s, early 30s that are general managers now, but back then that was not really heard of. And I think I was probably right around 30. And just worked in only a couple stores, and I figured out a couple things the manufacturers were looking for because I knew what I wanted to accomplish. I had to do sell a lot of new cars. So every store I went to, I focused on helping sell new cars. So if I had a customer with credit issues or needed help, it may have been more. I may have made more money selling them a used car, but I put them on new cars. One, because I wanted to do his best for them. Two, I wanted to sell a bunch of new cars to make a name for myself and serve the community. Mm-hmm. So I went to stores, and automatically their sales went up because of the team and because of my focus. I had such good relationships with banks that I could get pretty much anybody approved. But I sent them all the business too. So it was a win-win. Sure. So I used that. And then I knew we had to have high CSI. And I knew that I had to build a team, Mm-hmm. And, 11 and a half years ago or so, Liza Borges and her dad, a mutual friend, got us together. They had watched my career. They knew what I had done. and they offered me an opportunity of a lifetime. So in 2010, I bought into my first car dealership.
Wonderful.
Which was, I was 37 at the time.
Wow.
Since then, building a good team.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I have, with Liza, CMA, we've acquired a total of 5. So I'm a partner in 5. All in the 5 that I manage are all in one area. I have about 175 employees, and they're separate buildings, so I could walk to each one. Like right now, I'm in the Honda store.
I see.
And Liza just now acquired some more. She's up. When I came aboard at the first store, I think we had only, I don't know, 8 stores. Now she's got up to 20.
Wow.
Yeah. And let me tell you something, Megan, she is, I know you know her through Clubhouse and through Lisa Copeland and
Yes.
Glenn Lundy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lady that needs to be on this show.
Yes.
She is remarkable
Yes.
human being. We have an ESOP to show you what type of person she is, which you and I talked about this. She shares 10% of the net profit of the stores with the staff.
Okay.
That's amazing. You know, so that goes into the stock option plan, and that stock has doubled every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's had a 12% return a year on average, some years more. No, that's unheard of.
I mean, it's just, the model, of course, we know of, the Southwest model, the ownership model, but to listen to you, not just you, Scott, but just in general, because, of course, Glenn Lundy, is 800% Clubs, speaks highly of not only Liza, but, the whole company. And I have said to myself, honestly, maybe I should go work for you guys.
We would love it.
I think I would. Because I love building teams. I love, I don't know. I'm just praying about all this.
We would love to host a visit for sure. I mean, hearing your story and your success was amazing to hear. And I love hearing success stories, and I love hearing driven people that, that are successful, but also humble.
Yeah. And really, I think that the commonality is also the team. Like I'm sitting here with my team. I couldn't do this, by myself. And I can do this part, but not the whole program. And to make, I've always said, build a team and the team will build your business. But you have to be the leader of that team. And without that, so it's that joint venture, so to speak. So now you've been there now and for what, 15, you said 16 years?
I've been with Liza and CMA 11. This is my 11th year.
11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And but you also are, because again, how your mindset was developed and what you learned from that compounding, you're now also in investing, meaning you're going not beyond, but combining it with your entire structure. You and your wife are building really your empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. Yeah, I've learned from Grant Cardone. I have a lot of mentors. I have a lot of, Carter Myers is a mentor of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Miles is a mentor of mine. Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, Danelle Delgado.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned from them different things. And one thing that Grant Cardone taught me years ago, and I've known Grant for over 20 years, he's a friend of mine, is do not have money sitting around. Put that money in investments that provide cash flow back. Then I got around really smart people, and I just listened. Like, what are you involved in? And my strategy has always been financial security, freedom, not getting involved in deals where you could lose in any deal, but my deals typically are, what's the return going to be? Not, am I going to lose? Like, I know a lot of people have made a lot of money off Bitcoin, NFTs, different things. If I can't explain it, I don't look at the shiny object. Now, I know a lot of people have made a lot of money. I'm not saying anything negative about them at all. Mm-hmm. I just don't know it. I'd rather do real estate, other businesses. Mm-hmm. So by learning from these other people, we formed a company called Simons Enterprises, Inc., which is my family company. This is something I could pass to my children. So my wife works with me. My 2 children work with me. So all the entities that we part own, which I think it's over 20 now, outside of the car dealerships, roll into our S Corp. and then we have a fully functioning entity that can be passed on. So I own part of an antique mall, sports complex, fitness facilities, organic chicken company, pharmaceutical company. I'm invested in a lot of different things. I meet really good people. I just simply say, hey, I even said it to you when I met you. You'll remember. Hey, Megan, if there's any opportunities that come up in the future that you think you and I can collaborate on,
Exactly, Scott.
Let me know. And typically what people will say, which is what you said, is, hey, absolutely. And keep me in mind also.
Exactly.
And that one little phrase. Now, do I say that to everybody? No. If they don't align with me and I don't have a good feeling about it, I'm not going to say that to everybody. But I even said it to you because I have spent enough time with you to know you're a genuine person that I would do business with.
Thank you.
So when I get around those people, I say that. And Megan, you would not believe it. You may not call me next week, but next year. But if you think of something and say, hey, we've got this opportunity, let me bounce it by Scott, or let me see what he thinks, or if there's an opportunity for me to get involved in. I'll give you an example. By being kind to people, I've had people let me in opportunities just because they like me. I had a guy that is worth a lot of money, and he is in this one investment that is projected at 25 to 40 time multiple. And this guy is worth, and he said, Scott, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I said, what's that, buddy? He said, I'm going to take 25,000 of my investment and I'm going to sell it to you at what I paid for it. And I said, why would you do that? He said, because I like you. And I said, well, thank you. So I told somebody about it, not his name. They're like, well, he must think it's a bad deal. I said, you just don't get it. I said, you don't get it. This guy's worth millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. I sold him a vehicle, took care of him, and became friends with the man. I genuinely liked the man. I've learned a ton from the man. And he just simply, now 25,000 times a 25 to 40 time multiple, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Absolutely. Yes.
All because he liked me. But that's not the first time someone's done that for me.
Right. But you know, the thing that, well, first off, I've been thinking and I'm creating. So I just want you to know that.
I know you are.
I've been saying, yes.
Well, you are.
I've been thinking.
And I can tell. I can feel it whenever I correspond with you or in Clubhouse, or I'm even on stage with you. You may not be talking. I feel it. I promise you, I feel it.
So just stay tuned. Okay, but what I wanted to share with this piece is that most people are aware, obviously, whether they have invested or not in mutual funds or the stock market or different things, but those are very abstract. They are not real life, so to speak. Everything you have invested in or got involved in, this is what I want our guests to hear, are with people that you know, like, and trust, and they know, like, and trust you, and therefore you can personally be involved in these businesses. Whether you're daily involved in them, no, but your heart and your business acumen is.
For sure. Yeah, it's the individual first and foremost.
Yeah.
Who is the person? Because if you have a special individual like yourself or these other superhumans I'm partnered with, they're going to figure it out.
Right.
The smart people figure it out. Exactly. So I would bet on the person before I would the idea. Now, a lot of people totally disagree with me on that, and I get it. I understand, but this is how it works out for me. Like if people don't align with me and they're about not solving a problem or serving somebody, and it doesn't come from a servant heart, then I'm not interested. A lot of the projects that I decide not to get involved in, I just don't have a gut feeling about it. I don't do every deal that comes my way. Certain people, as soon as they call, what you got? Okay, where I need to wire it. Well, wait a minute, let me explain. No, it's okay. I'm good. Where I need to get. What are we doing? You know, just because I've known for a while,
yes.
My best interest. Like I've done deals with Cardone. I've really diversified my portfolio. So I'm not in any one. A lot of people would have took the money I made and maybe bought their own dealership or put it on an automotive. Everything I'm invested in is outside of automotive.
Yeah, I can see that. As they say, you've diversified. You've mentioned Grant. I don't want this to go into Grant, but I do, as I shared in the intro, as well as to you, as Scott, personally, I want our guests to be able to hear your life and hear themselves and see themselves in this. And one of the things that you've said very loud and clear, and you've mentioned Grant a few times, but you've also mentioned mentors. And one of the things I have enjoyed, I would say, about Clubhouse is Grant Cardone and his sincerity and how he pops in these. And for anyone who doesn't know what Clubhouse is, it is an audio app. And so it's very much worthwhile to check out. But Grant is such a generous person, is he not, in his heart and his information?
Yeah, I've known Grant for over 20 years. I knew him when he was not involved in real estate really and was selling CDs out of the back of a car.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a genuine person for sure.
Yeah.
I know the real Grant Cardone. Now, to get exposure, to get attention, you've got to,
Of course.
If we have this conversation and if I don't touch on a few things that may be controversial, or if I'm just honest, if I sit here and just tell what I feel like you want to hear and just everything's smooth sailing, not many people would listen to what I have to say. But people know that I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to stick to my truth,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Grant is in a space where he needs to garner attention. But he's a very genuine person.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't learn things from Grant that he taught me and that I did employ, that I did go and take action on.
Mm-hmm.
Mentors are extremely, and I there was a lot of times I've not paid him anything. I'll tell you, a mind shift switch for me.
Mm-hmm.
My life really took off when I was very successful because I was so driven. But there was times that I made mistakes. And some of the mistakes I made was I was really focused on my goals and not everybody else's around me. Mm-hmm. And that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Their goals have to fit within my goals, so we're all in uniform and moving forward. So that's a mistake that I most definitely made. Like the advice also that Grant, et cetera, give, I don't agree with everything everybody says. I take the part out of it and apply it toward me.
Yes.
And when he said, hey, you need to invest your money in cash flowing things back, that's something that I took to heart. What keeps me going is a fear of failure. That's why you say, well, Scott, when's enough? It's a question I get a lot of times. I feel like I've got so much more to accomplish. I feel like I really haven't accomplished nowhere close to what I could do. Am I thankful? Yes. But I'm nowhere close to where I want to be or can be. But when you go and you invest all your money and your wife calls you and says, where's all our money? And you look in your bank account and there's no money in there, it just constantly puts your back against the wall so you stay hungry. So when that money's invested and I go invest in a lot of these, it's not like I say, hey, Megan, you and I just got through putting this deal together.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you this money. Can I have my money back? As you and I well know, it doesn't work like that. I can't call Cardone and tell him I want my X amount of dollars back.
Mm-hmm.
So that pressure is another thing that he taught, that I applied. So when I go and talk to these people about these deals, I write them. And once my account builds up to X amount of dollars, I deploy it. I've already talking to 5 or 6 people. Mm-hmm. So your opportunity may be number 1. Billy's opportunity is number 2. Mm-hmm. Opportunity is number 3. And then once that account builds up, I deploy, and then I look at my bank account. I'm like, oh man, I got to get back to work. I got to stick with what I know. Mm-hmm. You to hustle, because that feeds everything else that I do. Mm-hmm. It's pressure. I tell you, Megan, I had deals that I worked on for a couple of years, and in 2020, part of income for business owners was held up, especially dividends. So it was frowned upon if you declare dividends receiving any type of funds. So we did not declare any dividends. Well, that's about half of my pay. Mm. Well, I went through and asked all these people for these opportunities. Well, Megan, fourth quarter of 2020, my phone just kept ringing. Hey, I'm ready. I know you've been asking for a couple of years. Phone call 2, phone call 3, phone call 4. And I'm like, and these are like top 4 out of like 10 I've got working. But when they call, as you know, they have to wire that money within 24 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't wire it, think they're going to call me in the future?
Mm-hmm.
If I say, hey, I know I've been talking to you, Megan, about this deal for 2 years when we first started walking around Central Park. And now, Scott, I'm calling you 2 years later and you don't have the money. 1, you're going to think I'm a fraud. 2, you're not going to call me in the future. And guess what? You may even get frustrated enough to maybe share that around the dinner table sometimes when my name comes up. It's human nature. You probably wouldn't, but some would.
Sure.
And I wouldn't say that I blame them. Well, I had, invested a lot of my money and that fourth quarter, I had to come up with 7 figures. I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have it readily available sitting around. I never would have had that much anyway, but sitting around, it's all invested. So let me tell you something, that was a lot of pressure. So, and I got it done. I had to call some notes that I do some hard money lending and do some things. I had to call some favors of some people, say, hey, could you pay me back a little bit earlier? People did. I had to liquidate a car I loved. Some people started rumors, said, oh, Scott, he sold his Lamborghini. He's going down. No, I used it to invest in 3 real estate deals.
Exactly.
I said, exactly. So I invested in 3 apartment complex. We bought an accounting firm building and leased it back, and we bought a newspaper building. And I've been working on those deals. So I saw that car sitting there paid for, and I said, I love the car, but I love this deal better.
Exactly.
I sold it within 2 hours. My wife goes, why did you sell your car? She said, I knew you were going to sell. I said, I had to. And I'm okay with it. She said, you love that car. I said, I'll get another one. And if
exactly.
It's okay. It's a car.
No.
But it's funny because some people will sit and see that and say, oh, he's done overextended himself. He's good. That was actually said. And when people care about you, they'll go back. And I just kind of just laughed about it and said, it's okay. People can say whatever they want to say.
Yes. I mean, the haters will always be there, and it does not matter because they are, just, are they doing what you're doing? No. So it really is a personal thing. Wow. All I can think about as we're speaking, you're sharing and we're talking about your business life, your personal life. You need to write a book, my friend, because you have a formula that truly is very special and very unique, and it really needs to be shared.
I agree, and I've talked to some people about it, and I just need to bear down and do it. I need to just do it. I've had quite a few people, especially the area where I'm from. We give, I think, some hope, to some people.
Yes,
trust me, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. But
no, none of us are. But you're Scott Simons that they know, and that, wow, if he can do that. So it really is that, and how you've shared this today is so easy to follow and listen, to clearly see yourself in the structure. But the one thing I will say that I have, and I heard this loud and clear that day walking around Central Park, is that, and I'm going to give your father a little credit for this, is that he may have been hard and, harsh and maybe not, done it the way that it would have been more pleasant. But wow, in your own way, your brother and you have been so successful in that follow through. That follow through is just so strong and so admirable. It's really.
Yeah, he just said, if whatever you decide to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And, when I'll tell you this, it's a heavy burden to carry. I'll say this, but when someone sacrifices for you, and if you truly care and you're a good person, you owe it to them. So I owe it to them to try to strive to be the best version of me, failing off in all aspects of life. It's never ending. Like in Mallette is big on this. When you meet the Maker, meet God, will you even resemble that person?
Yes.
That He envisions you to be, and those are based on decisions that you make.
Yeah.
And my parents gave up so much for my brother and I what they gave up would go in vain if I didn't truly try to do the best I
Yeah.
possibly could do. And that's a burden you carry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pressure I feel, every single day because I know what they gave up for us.
Well, you've done good, my friend. You've done good.
Thank God.
I'm sure, and I'm sure they're proud of both you guys. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's so. Even though you're not an accountant,
That's right. That's
even
right.
though.
I've got a couple of them. I've got a couple.
Yeah,
I work
exactly.
with, and I've got a couple attorneys too, and
Exactly.
and luckily I've got good ones. That's not my expertise.
No, that's a true anointing. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I hate to end our time together, but as we wind down here, I ask everyone the same question, Scott. And it basically is from Sharon Lecter and Greg Reed's book, 3 Feet from Gold. It's one of my favorites and of Sharon's and Greg's. And, it's fiction with a little autobiographical of Greg Reed in the storyline, but the beginning story is a fiction for our guests that might not know, about a guy from the East Coast during the gold rush days, went west, bought a piece of land, started chiseling away, had a gold fever, and was very discouraged, would go into town, moan the blues, and then finally gave up. And a townie bought the property and in 3 feet struck gold.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow. Yes. So that is that start and don't stop until you complete the mission. But Sharon, in the book, in the body of the book, and then it goes into modern day with a fictitious character, but it was somewhat modeled by Greg's story. And she has what she calls the success formula. And it is your passion plus talent times association times action plus faith equals success. Now, I'm not going to ask you all of them, but what is your passion and what is your talent?
I would say that my talent is I'm a connector of people. I can relate to people. That I genuinely care about people. You can't really fake that. I don't understand sometimes. Like I don't understand why people don't want the best for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I've made that mistake before. I try to manage people as though they were me, and they're not. I have to get the best version of them, yes, not the best version of me, which that is a mistake that I would have made. So, I genuinely care about people. Passion, I've always wanted to make my parents proud. I know that they are because they tell me, but my passion is their sacrifice. Mm-hmm. I just know how much they sacrifice for me. And, my goal is to pay it forward, not give my children things, but push them to be the best versions of them. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, my wife and I have not pushed our children like we were pushed. I think part of it would be a little bit socially unacceptable, at this time, based on how I was raised. I mean, mm-hmm. When my Aunt Mary would whip my rear end, it wasn't with the brown switch; it was with the green switch. And when we go get that green switch too, if you ever try to get a green switch, it's green because it's still connected to something. Exactly. So you're sitting there struggling trying to get it off, and you could obviously pick up the brown one, but as soon as she broke it across your butt, you had to go back and get the green one anyway. Well, it was just as hard getting the switch off than what she would do. Oh my! So it's just I just want to make them. I just want to make them proud. I want people to say my name, and I tell you what I want to be remembered as. Yeah, I share this with people. I want to be remembered as if you've got to make one phone call, one phone call that you would call me if you needed help. That I would be the person to receive that one phone call. That's what that's what I want my legacy to be. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love you. Thank you so much for joining my life and also our guests. So if you would just hang out in the green room for a few minutes as I close, and I'll see you in a few minutes. But again, thank you so very much, Scott, for joining us today. Thank you for having me on. It's been a real honor, and thank you so much. Wow. Well, we're in the studio, but this is in real life. I don't know if you hear the phone ringing. This is the office of Novitas Spa Clinical Products. But thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. And wow, what a blessing. I hope
you folks not only listened to this today, but again, listen to this on YouTube, on podcasting, on all the platforms, because Scott truly shared some very, very important information about success. Really, as Sharon calls it, her success formula, I would say this is as much a success formula as Sharon's. And it really ties together with Sharon Lecter's success formula of passion plus talent times association times action plus faith. That is really Scott Simons. I really admire not only you, but how you've applied everything that you've learned, Scott. So thank you. But today, folks, I truly ask you to share this out on social media, on all your platforms. It's on all my Facebook pages, Megan DiMartino, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And then next Tuesday, as I shared, will be on all the podcasting platforms. You know, my websites are megandimartino.com and novitasspa.com. And I wrote a book, and it kind of fits into Scott's story, and it's called Hope and Possibilities Just Over the Horizon. It's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. And in between the lines, Scott shared that. It is truly never too early or too late. So know that. And last year, when we were all home, I put it no charge. It is on Amazon, but it's no charge on the megandimartino.com. So go there, and it shares my story of hope and possibilities. So till next Friday, another unique leader will join us. Thank you so much for being here, and be blessed.